And what do you think? Sacral
I
Spectrum?
like that.
Okay. Aloha. This is John. Today, I'm going to look at the. Okay. You don't even have to. I mean, if you want, go ahead. Um,
Okay. That's how I always start. Okay. This is Raven,
And this is Anna.
and we're taking a few minutes to acknowledge our former friend, teacher, and guide, John Martin, to acknowledge him and his role for us. We met through our our participation in his programs, so it
Yes.
was personally significant in that way, and also just who he was for so many people who were done bending themselves and compromising themselves. And he had this way of bringing into people, bringing one into alignment. And it's interesting because for me, I mean, I was a student in his Jedi program, and then I became a partner, creative partner in Human Design Unleashed. So I had more of that kind of relationship with him, and it was more like I absorbed his teachings through working with him, um, than having sessions with him. I mean, we finally did a session, I think, 10 years after I met him, uh, direct session. And he thought, well, this is silly. I'm like, just do it. I want to hear what you have to say, about the design and the issues. And for me, I mean, I've had a few enjoyable careers in my life, and the work I did with him was incredibly joyous. It felt like, I mean, there was one day where I just felt like I could die now. It was so satisfying, creatively engaging, and a lot of fun. And as many know, he's also a pain in the ass, but that's life. I'm a pain in the ass. So,
He,
yeah.
yeah, he used to say this so freely about himself. Anyway, he was a cross of demands,
Hmm.
not surprising. And I remember, and I personally met him, and I was telling him, I mean, for me, he was a real role model, and um, I'll speak about that later. But it's like I mentioned something that I admire him so much, and I would be ready to do any kind of work or any kind of help. And he looked at me and was like, "You wouldn't like to work for me or with me because the things I ask or demand from people, they're just unbearable. So maybe you don't need to know that side of me." Yeah,
That's funny.
he was very open to to say the truth, even if it was ugly truth or somebody didn't
Hmm.
like it. He was very, yeah, he was very direct. For me, I think I just wrote him in a very right time. So I was getting on the roof, and literally everything just fell apart around me. And I've done my research on, I knew that I wanted to get the reading, and I've done my research like a year already. And I don't know in which way, miraculously, I came across the Human Design Hawaii, and there were three pictures of three different teachers. And when I saw the picture of John, that's exactly what I felt like: self empowerment, power.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I like when I just looked at his face, it so much resonated. Like I felt something that represents me or something that I can identify with. And only later when I saw that, okay, he's a 6-2 and integration, self-empowerment, I was like, they're and he's a
Yeah.
projector who can guide a generator. Yeah, like it was just And I was just like so lucky to write him. And I just remember like I sent an email as I was walking on the street in China. And I sent an email thinking, okay, maybe. And he responded like within minutes, like within a minute, the email came back. And I wrote an email that I'm generator 6-2 getting on the roof. And he just wrote to me straight, like, I know exactly where you are. And just the few first words, they were already like, it's incredible because integration is not supposed to give you support, but that's self-empowerment. But that self-empowerment, that's exactly the support. There is like, I can be strong, you're strong, something like this. Like, it wasn't really the supportive words or like, caring words, but it's just something that immediately made me more centered, more self-empowered, and not feeling so lost anymore. And I was just so lucky because I was on his last group Jedi training, and I don't want to imagine if I didn't do that. It was 2014 when I did the reading, and I joined, I think, 2015.
Yeah. That's when we did it. Yeah. So I did the one before you, and then we actually both arrived in Sedona about 3 weeks apart from each other. And I had gone there, I'd responded to going there. I had already met Marianne Winiger, and she had opened a space there. And shortly after I arrived, John was leading a Thursday night, just bring your chart, let's talk kind of a thing. But before I got engaged with that, I met him in the cafe below. But I saw him, and I think a friend of mine, the woman who introduced me to human design, had shown me his videos at some point. I must have seen them, but when I saw him, I was, oh, like he just looked at me like, who the fuck are you? But that was probably his shyness, the two.
Yeah.
We're 6'2s. He was 6'2", and Anna and I are both, we're all integration too. And what you said, because I definitely was pulled there, let's say, or invited there or called there through Marianne, but it didn't take long for me to kind of go, no, I think I came here for you. So there was what you're talking about. And self-empowerment is a role model, we're role models of that, right? So and I just really liked what I call his irreverence, that no bullshit thing, which I think integration may have that flavor. So and I guess personally, I'll say, in terms of the unraveling in my life of all things constructed, um, human design lit the match, and John Martin fanned the flames.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's curse you, love you.
Yeah, he was one of the most real people that I have ever met.
Mhm.
I I'm so grateful that my navigation, my response was strong enough already by 2017 that I literally felt like I've never been to the USA. I'm Ukrainian. It's difficult to get a visa. I lived in China. In the moment I felt like I want to go to Hawaii to meet John, like he emphasized to me that according to my chart, like when I want something, the only thing that matters is that I understand what I want. Then I don't do much about it. When I realized like what I'm signing up for, like going from China to Ukraine, going to the embassy, telling them some kind of story about human design. That's the reason I'm going to the US, hoping they grant me visa. And it was miraculous because it was exactly like this. I was in the
Interesting.
embassy. I feel very intimidated. I am the person who usually lacks all kind of documents. I don't have any kind of job to show them that, I'm so secure, and I was sitting there getting more and more petrified. And then they called me and asked me, why are you going? I'm like, there is a teacher, and I've been on his course, and I'm going to visit him and get some sessions. And I had his passport page copy or something.
Hmm.
They asked me a couple of questions about the teacher, and then he said, tell me about human design. And here I go. I got that visa just like that. And I went to Hawaii. First of all, Hawaii was incredible. But meeting John, I just like, there are few people in my life knowing whom I really know that shaped me, changed my trajectory, and brought me
Hmm.
closer to myself. So just meeting him, I was crying. I was crying because it felt like so real. He was just so real that um whatever fakeness or whatever, I don't know, cover up, I don't know, it just like melted away. I was just like he often said it's splenic tears, being
It's
happy that you splenic tears.
Oh, yes, yes. Uh-huh.
Yes, splenic laugh, splenic tears. So just like being in front of him, I was happy that I'm alive and I survived until this moment, that I actually can be in the presence of his aura. Being in his presence awoke more of me, that I want to be myself. That all
Mm.
the other shit doesn't worth
Yeah.
a damn. That the only thing that matters is that you are yourself. As I'm speaking, I'm reliving that moment, and that's exactly the empowerment I received from him. Forever grateful.
Hmm. Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, I think that's the, what you said. That was his offer, really, is to be authentically you, starting with him.
And showing you what
Yeah.
doesn't work, and
Yeah.
showing you your shit. He was the best
Yeah, I
job.
mean, in that first class that I mentioned, because I have a
Oh,
split, and he's like, I think it's like sounds like this in your mind, right? Back in the body, back in the body. And that's where I learned. So it's interesting. I mean, this is just in a way a side thing, but I used to do speaking presentations and I would write out when I was still a business person. um, I would lead whatever in-person things and I would write out the whole freaking script. Like duh, pages of this is what I'm going to say. And for me, working in the studio with him that we built in his home, even though I was never a front line, I was the back, the other side, somehow that loosened all of that up. And now I even have some recordings from back then. You can tell I'm reading. And now it's just what comes out, comes out.
yeah,
So it's a
exactly.
real, so just that, which is just your own voice, was a gift. And the other piece, and I don't know if you had this experience, is in the trainings, encouragement, what comes out before mind. He often said that, what comes out before mind. And I remember when I would speak in either our web show or in a class, I could tell, like I started to detect, oh, that's all there is to be said. It even happened today. I was at an event this morning and I had some ideas about what I was going to share with this one woman. And then at some point it's like, well, I think that's it. There's more I had, but that was it. So that was also a really great offer teaching. What
Yeah,
comes out before mind?
yeah.
And then shut up.
Yeah, like he was pointing that out, like, is it you or is it your mind speaking already?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when I re-listen the recordings with him, I just I feel sorry sometimes because I still can, like, it was the very beginning. I can see when my mind interferes and I start, getting on that ride, and then he's just like, is it you or already your mind speaking?
Hmm.
And I think I couldn't even catch that at that point. So only when I'm listening later, I'm like, gosh, like I like now I feel like I wish I could talk to you now. I would get so much more out of conversation, but absolutely everything happens in the right time. So
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Something you just said, which I thought I had something to say, but it's gone. Um,
his passing was the reason why I created my YouTube and I started speaking about human design, because
mhm.
it's true, like in yoga, we like I practiced yoga for some time, and they say that as long as your teacher is alive, you still feel like somebody's doing the job,
Yes.
And,
That's actually reminded me of what I was going to say, which is that,
mm,
there is this thing that happens, and I can still feel it for myself. Like, boy, it'd be great to talk to John because he would kick whatever's bothering me out the door. But there's that, there's the phrase, ooh, okay, I'm going to shift it, kill the Buddha, kill the parents. So it's like you've gotten your teaching. Now.
yeah, we can actually do these things to ourselves now. It's just like
Uh-huh.
there is this
Yeah.
little cry inside that I want somebody to do it for me, I want to come in front of somebody, and I'm also getting to the point of a constant reminder that I'm perfectly fine
Uh-huh.
to remove my own bullshit, to see it at least, and
Uh-huh.
then to be honest about it, that okay, this is just a whining, or you're just tired, and just that's okay, but don't make such a big deal out of it.
I'm laughing. It's like, that's kind of my life these days. Oh, there she goes again. I mean, one of my phrases, I take it from Britney Spears. Oops, I did it again.
Yeah,
But that's the thing is, that's the other loveliness is he gave life to the saying, stupid before enlightenment and stupid after, and also really pointing to that awareness is not bliss, it's not everything's awesome. It's like it's the witness. It's the witness of the not self, I would say, the witness of the true self. It's not let you you, you don't
yeah,
you don't really change. You can, but you become a watcher of it.
yeah. This is, I appreciate John I want to really express this. So I appreciate him for really pointing the most important out, because human design is huge,
Hmm.
and information wise it becomes even bigger.
What are you doing?
Yeah, there is something happening to my phone. So yeah, it's becoming even bigger,
Hmm.
and you can be
Hmm.
really lost in information, and you can think like, do I need to study more about profiles or this or that? And he was, for so many years in human design, he was teaching courses, he had a huge authority, and he never encouraged you in getting more information.
Hmm.
Exactly, pointing the observer, the importance of the experiment. He was just like, don't follow the mind, don't get trapped in the mind.
Hmm. Hmm. Live your mythology, don't study your mythology.
Yeah, like I remembered when I came to him for more information. Um, at some point, he was like, like, why do you need this information? Like, what in you, like
Mm.
he wouldn't just sell information to your mind. He would
Mm.
actually see what is your true question, what bothers you, or what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's
Well,
interesting. I just want to go back to something that you said earlier in his, like all you need to know is what you want. And that's a tricky one. I know where it's coming from because I'm aware of your design, but it's like it's tricky because it's not what does your mind want. It's, because that can pull you in also, but it's like what, I think it comes from a different place. Would you agree? Like when something just comes, it's a directional, yeah. I mean, cross of dominion is your, nerd.
Yeah.
And for
Uh,
me, I think one of my first assignments, you're reminding me, so I have the 56 gate, excuse me for bringing the details in, but which is the voice is I believe or I don't believe. And I had some issues with that. Like I presented that as one of my very first questions in that class. And so, you threw it back at me. Well, what is that? Because it's, again, these things can come from the mind or from something else. I don't know if I ever answered it. If it's been too long to remember, but it was, but he threw it back at me like, look at that. What is that? And it's really just a voice
it's just a voice, right?
because it comes out of the throat center. I believe, I want, I have, I don't have, I think.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Anything else you want to say before we close this?
I think he would also appreciate it short. Like we said,
Uh-huh.
it was, yeah. I know he would like it to be
Yeah.
brief instead of like making it all. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Aloha, this is John here today with a look at the Sacral Spectrum. And this is really one of these beautiful days, these incredible days, where I get to publicly admit what a dumbass I am. I mean, really, guys. I mean, I don't know how you guys met human design or what your chip is, but you know, for me, I was kind of lost out on this little island. I happened to have a lot of information that was given to me, and I learned human design pretty much in a vacuum. You know, I still don't really know many of the big people in human design. I just don't. I know a few here and there. But I wasn't part of, you know, that evolution. So I was kind of outside then, kind of outside now. I realized that outside is where I'm comfortable. But very early on in my process, I got involved with Marianne. And she came to Kauai. We did a lot of lectures and so forth. And that eventually ended up me moving here to Sedona to do some work with her. And she's not a very external sacral process. It's for her, she needs to be asked questions. That question then has to be verified with the sound, and you know, so there's like, can you ask me a question thing, and oh, it's exquisitely, perfectly her. I mean, it's perfectly her. It's perfectly her trip. But I'm also been hit with this wave of people that it really doesn't work for. And guys, I didn't really work with that many generators when I was on the islands. I pretty much lived with projectors and hung out with projectors or by myself, you know. So I was deeply influenced by this way, you know, that you needed to ask a question and you needed to hear the sound. You know, it was always like a bit of an imposition to be asked to ask questions because that's not how it works for a projector. I mean, projectors, we're cruising along in this, you know, can you ask me stop, start thing can be very difficult. You know, it's a little bumpy. But what I didn't realize is just how deeply that conditioned my trip with the sacral, you know, and I have so many people coming to me going, you know, I can't, you know, this whole need to externalize, even think of it this way, is like if you're thinking of, hey, will you ask me this question? I mean, that's what I'm starting to see is you've got all these minds going, oh, would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? I mean, it's like, what the fuck is initiating? That's exactly what it is, you know? And so that process became more and more suspect to me. The more and more people, especially in the last, you know, it's been about a year, but the year that I spent here working live, I was like, dude, that's not how it works for them. That's not it's not going to work for them that way. I mean, That's all I see is what's not working, guys. So for those of you that is working, or it helps you to get in touch with that first sense of response, that's great, man. I mean, I totally encourage you. Whatever's working. I have another friend, Doug Hetrick, also 6'2", about the same amount of time in human design, 16, 17 years, I believe, something like that, who couldn't even understand somebody asking him a question. I mean, he's so cute. He was here this summer, and we were doing some different ceremonies and work and stuff here, and we hadn't hung out in a while, and it was, as a projector, dude, I watched the sacral process. I mean, there's nothing else I'm watching, guys. I mean, really. And so the way his energy moves, it's like his energy would just move. And I would watch it, and it was like, and again, it's totally unconscious. It's a completely different configuration. And so I explained to him this whole thing is like, okay, the generator's here being taught this protocol. You need to ask me, and then I need to ask you back. And it's like, it's just that whole externalization process that looks tricky and suspect to me, okay? Not the response, not the in the moment. See, here's the deal, guys. Most of you are doing it most of the time anyway. I see you getting yourselves in trouble trying to figure it out. That's very different than a body consciousness approach to just becoming aware, oh, that was a response. Again, I'm not saying that any path is wrong to this. But so I explained to this. I go, Doug, okay, so I'm a projector, then I have to wait. And then you have to ask me, and then I have to ask you. And he's like, I would shoot myself. And then when we were in here one night, and we asked him to go get a chart, or his buddy asked him to go get the chart, and he didn't move. And then like about 30 seconds went by, and he looks up and he goes, I guess I'm basically getting an because he doesn't have this vocabulary, right? A few months went by. I called him, and there were some things that we were going to do, and he was going to get me a couple of things and send them out. And I was I just asked, hey, have you had a chance to look into that? And dude, I felt it's like over the phone, from Sedona to California, I could feel his energy go, And then it's so cute because we're desperately friends, and I could feel him trying to make it yes. Like he goes, and I just start giggling. I was like, dude, I so appreciate you want to say yes, but the energy said no from over here. So guys, look, I just wanted to give you that as a sacral spectrum. I mean, if this need to externally verify everything you're doing with your sacral is really your trip. I mean, that's probably all the way at one end of the spectrum. And all the way at the other is a guy who moves through space with so much rhythm and so much flow and so much perfection. It's almost mind-boggling to see him move. And the only thing I would also say is that unless that is really your trip, this need, and that's mostly people with splits. I've just noticed in all the people I've looked at, it's like those people seem to think that works better for them a lot of times than people that are single definition, and certainly those that are unconscious. But however you get there, guys, the point is the response. The point is not the sound. The point is response. And as a projector, you get to have these moments where you just see this, what energy is just vibrating in space, ready to respond. And I've just seen so many people in this sacral process, like trying to, poke and cajole. And I mean, it's easily influenceable. The sacral is, guys. I mean, it is. I see that you can be influenced by what's around you. I see that you can be influenced by the ideas of those. And so I'm going to launch an even greater heresy here, potentially to this whole sacral process is, hey, if you're not really clear, I suggest get the fuck out of the aura of other people. I mean, really. If you're going to tune into your own body's consciousness, being in the field of someone else, I don't know if that's going to help you. And I know it can be influenced because I've seen it. I've watched it, and I've watched people go along with, because they responded, now they have to do this. And it's like, that wasn't really it either, guys. So it's just the danger of the mind, you know. And guys, I don't care if, you know, juggling bananas helps you get sacral. I don't care how you get there. But you know, this thing that's being handed down, that, you know, you have to be asked questions and hear this sound. I'm just saying, from a projector's perspective, you may need that. And if you need that, that's cool. But that's not response, and that's not the way energy moves in the world. And so I offer that as a spectrum, you know, that maybe you step back and really see, like, have you done, I mean, again, dude, I'm a dumbass. I thought it worked that way for that person, so that's how I thought it worked. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, that's beautiful too. Aloha.